GM. GM. Today's lesson, I'm going to talk about perfection. So, there's a saying that perfection is the enemy of progress. Meaning, if you spend too much time trying to get things right, getting them things absolutely perfect, you will actually not make any headway along the path you're trying to get to. You've probably all done this. I've done it. There's got to be something in the past where you wanted to start. It's usually starting. You wanted to start a business, start trading, start backtesting, start a new hobby, a new skill, a new career. And instead of just beginning, you go down a rabbit hole researching it and reading about it, trying to figure out stuff, trying to find everything out about it, making a plan, writing stuff up, but not actually beginning. Trying to imagine exactly how it all needs to go before you even start. So, I think that's a very real thing. And I do agree that unnecessarily or overly striving for perfection is something you need to keep an eye on in yourself and just check yourself and say, am I doing this because I truly want to do it to the best of my ability, or am I procrastinating? There is a difference. I'm also not a fan of people who just say, just go, just do it, just do anything, just start. Because that's right a lot of the time, but it's not right all the time. And there's plenty of people who just go with no direction, no plan, and they get shitty results. So, people tend to swing from one extreme to the other on this. Usually, this might ring true for you, this was definitely for me. Usually you start off as the perfectionist, in air quotes, which just means you're procrastinating. Right? You say you want things to be right or perfect, blah, blah, blah. But really you're just afraid to start, or you don't know how to start, or you're kind of frozen and you're overthinking it. Then, after a while, you get a bit pissed off with yourself for being like this. You get a bit angry that you're constantly doing this kind of one step forward, two steps back. And so you have the bright idea to go all action. Like, fuck it, let's just go, let's start. But that's what leads people into starting, stopping, and trying a bunch of different things. And the shiny object syndrome. Right? That's shiny object syndrome where you try something, it doesn't work, the next thing comes along, oh, I'm going to try this instead, oh, I'm going to try this instead. That's usually a consequence of the other extreme. So on one extreme, you're overly perfectionist. On the other extreme, you're not doing any due diligence and you're just starting stuff and you're constantly start-stop. And neither of these is a good way to be. If you're focused on perfection all the time, you don't get anything done. If you're focused on just going, you go with no direction and you end up failing. So what do? The answer, as always, lies in the middle. You have to know yourself. You have to think about these things a little bit more deeply. Because there are certain times where both is called for. An example of just doing it is backtesting in white belt. So everyone who's been through white belt will know. The time to spend days and days and days watching videos and researching and thinking about different rules, entry, stop loss, take profit, trying to think about a trend system, a mean reversion system, trying to think about whether you use the bands or the RSI or which price action technique. The time to do all of that is not at white belt. Because at white belt, I say the goal, and this is where it's important, the goal of white belt, the goal of what you're doing is to do backtesting. It's to do 100 backtests. You can use anything. That's why I literally give you rules. If you want to just copy and paste the example ones I give, you take those. That's a really good example. If anyone here, you're listening to this, and you find yourself spending too long thinking about your white belt system, you probably have a tendency towards that perfectionist / procrastinator. That's fine. Now you're aware of it. You have to understand the context of the goal. The goal was to do the backtesting. The goal was not to build the perfect system. Now, if I told you, I'm giving you one chance to build a system, and one chance only, and if you don't get a positive EV system, if you don't get a system that is positive expectancy, then I will kick you out of the real world. I would never do this, of course, but imagine. If I said that, in that context, in that scenario, you will be better off to focus much, much more on the planning and preparation. You only get one shot. You don't get a chance to test more than one. You just get one system. So you would then have to think and speak to me and speak to students and try and get ideas of what potential systems could yield positive results. You don't know because you've never done it. You've never backtested, but you only get one shot. So you're not just going to say, okay, let me do the first thing that comes to my mind. One of those paths requires action. The other path requires thinking and planning. So you can take this for whatever you're doing, whatever your tasks are, whatever your goals are. If you need to get something done, think about it and say, okay, this is task A. What I need here is I need an outcome. I have 50 emails that I need to send because I know that for my copywriting business, outreach is what gets me clients. Okay, so should you spend 5, 6, 7 hours or a full day designing the email template and getting the email software set up and manually sorting through the list of all the people you need to send to? No, that's something that requires action. Now you have to set up a basic template. You have to set up a basic script for your email. But the most important thing is to send the 50 emails. You can't send the 50 emails if you don't press the send button. So you should optimize towards, how do I press the send button as quickly as possible? That's it. Okay? Now, imagine you get a reply, a response, positive from one of those clients, and they want to work with you. And they send you over in advance $500 and say, okay, I want a sales page. Please send me over your first draft when you have it. You take a brief from them and they want to see your first draft. That is not something that you should go, okay, boom, fucking ChatGPT, let's type it up really quickly, let's get it over there. This is your first client, your first job. That is then where you sit back and think, okay, now I need to plan, prepare, and think about this. Go much more towards the perfectionism angle within the time given. Say to your client, when do you want to see this first draft? I want to see the first draft 3 days from now. Okay, cool. You've got 3 days. Spend as much time as possible, as much effort, as much thinking. Really think about this. Drafts. Do a draft. Do a second draft. Revise it. Think of different ideas. Write 3 different versions. Cross-reference them. Speak to other people. Get into the campus for copywriting and share it with the captain or share it with the captains or the prof or the other students and get reviews and opinions. Refine. Understand? One of them is action. Boom, boom, boom. You're sending 50 emails. It doesn't matter if you fuck one of them up. That's life. You might mess one up. Oh no, wrong name in this one. Oops, sent this to the wrong person. 49 of them are correct. It's a numbers game. You get the client. You have to work for the client. That is not a numbers game. That is now, you have to prove yourself. That is a game of perfection. They're going to be pouring over it. One of the most important things in any area of life is attention to detail. So you don't want to leave sloppy mistakes or grammatical errors in that work. So whatever you do, trading, sales, copywriting, a business, anything at all, bracket all the things you do, and even within it, in trading, You've got your analysis, you've got your backtesting, you've got your live trading, you've got all the other areas of what you do. Whatever you do, bracket it into different sections and say, okay, what's the deliverable? What's the thing I need to do? Is it 50 emails or is it the sales page for the client? Is it the 100 backtests or is it the best system ever? Or else I get kicked out of the real world. Figure out what the actual end goal is, the deliverable, and then decide whether you need more of an action-based, let's go, or a perfection-based, let's plan.